Hey. Hey, friends. Welcome to the live. It's Eric Nevins Live. I'm so glad you're here. I was just scrolling on my phone, but we don't need that. Actually, we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. I promise it's going to be great. Hey, friends, I'm glad that you're with us live. It's Friday. Heck of a week. We're not gonna talk about any of that. We're gonna have a really great conversation today, and that I think will inspire you and move you to action in your life. I cannot wait. My name is Eric Nevins. I'm your host. This is the show where we talk to ordinary people about their extraordinary lives, the things they've gotten to do. I'm excited. So if you would come along with us, here's what we do here. We host a conversation. I love to curate conversations, and I want to have a conversation with you. So we're going to bring in our guest pretty soon here in just a second, and he and I are going to have a conversation, but also while we're talking, you get to be part of it live. So if you would, go ahead, go to the chat, to the comments, wherever you're watching this, Facebook, YouTube. Go follow us on YouTube, by the way. That'd be great. We want it for you if you did that. And just leave a comment. I'm going to see the comments, and then I will, later on in our conversation, we will answer those comments or questions for you. So if you want to shape the conversation, there's someplace you think we should go, we will do that. We can talk about it. And it could actually, might be kind of wide ranging, might be some fun memory road stuff, might be talking about digital marketing and the world that we live in. Who knows? We're excited. We're going to go where we're going to go. Okay. I want to bring our guest into it. So friends, leave your comments and let's talk to our guest. Our guest today, he's worked in the Christian music and radio industry for over 25 years. We got to talk about that. Today, he helps his clients with their digital strategy, ad strategy, digital content strategy, and YouTube growth. He's currently growing his new YouTube channel, The Salty Christians. I think that's pretty cool. We'll talk about that. And really, really interesting. He once won a car on The Price is Right. Our guest is Matt Mundt. Matt, welcome to the show. Welcome to the live.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
I'm glad that you're here. I saw that about you. I thought that might be the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I thought you were going to say, Matt Mundt, come on down. Welcome to the next episode.
You're right. I totally missed an opportunity there, and I'm glad that you
next time
called me out on it. I love it. Well, welcome to the show. I'm glad that you're here. So we got to start with the Price is Right thing, at least just a little bit. I'm sure you probably talked about it for a lot, because I saw a video where you had the car and you eventually got rid of the car, so you had to a while. But tell us, so maybe it's been a while, but tell us, what was that experience like, man? I've never known anybody who actually won something on that show. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I'll give a tip on how you can get selected.
Let's do it.
But first, so the backstory is, so at the time I was working for Tooth and Nail Records, and so record labels, what they'll do is have events where you want to introduce all these radio people around the country to your artists. And so my friend Tamara was in charge of the radio department, but she knew I had worked in Christian radio and knew a lot of people. So she was like, hey, do you want to come down to California, hang out with 50 to 60 Christian radio folks and introduce them to some new Cutlass music and Thousand Foot Crutch? And I was like, sure, that sounds fun. And so we were in line. So they interview every single person who's going to be on the show. And they're going down the line. So there's, probably 200 to 300 people. And they're going by and they're like, Eric, what's your name and where are you from? And they got a couple of people standing back taking notes. They're just trying to observe and figure out, who are you going to put on the show? And so they'd ask me, they go, what's your name and where are you from? And I'm like, my name's Matt and I'm hanging out with all these people. And I pointed to this group of people with the record label and all these radio station people, and they're loud and outgoing. So I'm thinking, there's no way I'm getting on, because it's literally radio DJs, like professional radio DJs and personalities.
Yeah.
But just that one little simple, me pointing to all them and them just cheering, I think is what got them to call my name. And so we literally go in, they're cranking hype music. It's Drew Carey. It's the Drew Carey era. Yeah. So this was like 2008, I guess. And I think they're playing Beyonce music, really way too loud. And I'm just talking to them. We're having fun. We've been waiting in line for a couple hours. We're finally in here for the taping. And one of my buddies hits me on the shoulder. He's like, look, they're calling you. And they're holding my name up. And I was the first one called down. And so, yeah. And then the rest, you can go on YouTube, search my name, Matt Mundt, Price is Right, and you can see it. But yeah, I think the key was you got to go with the group. And then you got to show that you're kind of, not that I was the leader, but it came across like that by me, instead of me trying to be super entertaining to this person who's interviewing. I was just like, I just hang out with fun people like this. And they reacted, and so I think they were just excited to have someone they could pan to the crowd and show my friends going nuts. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
That
quite the
excitement.
memory.
Okay, I've
Yeah.
got a picture on the live. People can see a picture of you there with Drew Carey.
Perfect.
This is right when you won it. Like I think when it came up, you rolled the thing, right? And I grabbed a shot from that. It was the look on your face. Like you could see the look on your face.
It was
dawning
really
on you.
truly, like the thoughts that go through your mind, like when I had won, and it's pure luck. I mean, I'm literally just picking numbers. But at the moment when I'm like jumping to go run to my car, I'm thinking, if I fall right now, I will go viral and be famous, So yeah,
Right.
but I didn't do that. I decided not to do that.
That's good. Wow. Well, that's pretty interesting. Was it a good car? You pay taxes?
Yeah, Mazda 3 served me well. It died a little bit about a year ago. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But that's a long time. You said 2008, so that's not too bad.
Oh yeah, it's lots of memories. Drove cross country.
Okay. I love it, friends. Yeah. So you can find Matt on YouTube, and I'm sure we'll throw some links in. But because you have a whole video about memories with the car and all that. So anyway, people can find it. But I just thought that was a cool thing that was pretty interesting about you. I want to go back because the other thing you said that was interesting, and I saw you said in some of your bio that you were like a Christian music kid, right? You were singing to all the stuff. So was I. Although I think I'm a little older than you, so like my bands were a little like a decade earlier probably than the ones you were maybe into. Mm-hmm. But what was it like? Well, I want to ask you two questions. I want to ask you like who are you into, and then what was it like working at Tooth and Nail? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, no, I was the DC Talk kid. Loved DC Talk.
Okay.
I mean, really all things.
In what era, though? What era of DC Talk were you into them?
All eras, honestly. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I love the hip hop era, but then Jesus Freak was kind of at first I was like, I don't know if I'm into this, and then got into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I'm trying to think of other bands. I mean, I really liked everything. Third Day, Jars of Clay, Audio Adrenaline. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, I was literally the kid who'd go to the Christian bookstore and bring home the posters and put them in my room, put them in my youth group. I just loved Christian music. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. Okay. I can relate to all that. I actually posted, I shouldn't admit this, but I saw in like a Facebook, Christian music Facebook group, like old, whatever it is, Christian CCM group. Somebody had a picture of DeGarmo and Keys, like The Pledge. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. I don't, but I mean, I know.
This is what I mean. I'm a little older than you. Yeah. It triggered a memory that I got that and White Hearts Don't Wait for the Movie. Like,
oh wow!
The same day.
Yeah.
In probably cassette. And it was like a big deal for me. I was like, that was interesting. So, but I'm with you. All those bands. I was a big Petra fan. I'm kind of a hair band guy.
Yes, Petra. Actually, that was like my early days of getting into media. I had a friend they were putting on a Christian music festival, and they knew I'd done some video editing, and they're like, hey, can you come videotape at I think it was called Hope Fest. Doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like on stage with a video camera, doing the camera for the projection screens. And that was like my first this is like bringing back memories I kind of forgot about. But yeah, it was like on stage, Audio Adrenaline and Petra, and coming up with the right camera angles of them doing their rock and roll, their Christian rock and roll. So definitely a formative, like, give me a little taste of, hey, I can do something creative that I love, for Jesus.
Well, I love that because that was actually one of my questions. Like, when did you start to realize that this is, what you were wanting to do or that you were able to do it? Was it that moment? Were there others that you look back on now and go, oh yeah, I was able to kind of, somebody nurtured that in you, or you were able to kind of have experiences that you didn't expect?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've got to go back to just high school, and in the early 90s or late 90s, actually, had a teacher, not a Christian, just a teacher. He was the woodworking teacher. He did a grant to get like Adobe Premiere 1.0, video editing software 1.0. And I was like, hey, I want to learn that. And so he would like open up the classroom at the end of school and let me come and learn. And I made videos for my youth group, and I got to see that, telling a story and creating videos could be used. Like, I was the super shy kid, for me, I did not want to be on stage. I didn't want to be on the mic. But being behind the scenes was great.
Yeah. So you were able to do that up and kind of get that together. And that's really interesting. Yeah, I find that sometimes it just takes that one moment, right, where it sort of sparks that you're like, okay, One other question I wanted to ask you, and we'll go back to tooth and nail, but you say your strengths on your on your website. One of them is curiosity, which I resonate with.
Mm,
So
yeah,
my
yeah.
my media company is called Get Curious Media because I
Oh,
love
cool.
curiosity. So that's why it
Yeah.
resonates with me. As a kid, did that get you into any trouble?
Not really. I was a
Okay.
pretty shy, quiet kid. Very
You
follow the rules for the most part.
you
Yeah.
weren't one of those asking questions. Mom, Dad, why is it
No, I
like
don't
that?
think
No.
so.
Oh,
No.
interesting. All
Uh-uh.
right. Where did you
But I
first
but I that is you're definitely that's a good question, like, because I am now very curious, and I try and teach my kids curiosity. I just think it's very important to have, like, in your faith, in your career, and
Yeah.
we live in a day and age where you got a question, you can go find the answer right away, and so, yeah, I'm not sure what fostered that in me. I mean, I was a Lego kid growing up, maybe that was
Oh,
it.
maybe.
I don't know. I'll have to think about that more, but, um, it is interesting that love curiosity so much now and want to instill it in my kids because I see the value that it's given me.
Yeah, that's fascinating. You know what I love about that is, I mean, the really question is just to get to know you a little bit and learn
Mm.
about you. But that's not the answer I expected. But I love that it tells us a little something about you, right? Like you were a Lego kid and you were maybe an explorer there, and there's ways that kind of
Yeah.
develops. I love it. Okay, let's go back. So you told us about some of the bands that you liked, but I was gonna
Mhm.
ask you about Tooth and Nail because I thought that was pretty cool that you were
Yeah.
there. I mean, those were bands that we were listening to, like early 2000s, right? In
Yeah.
that whenever that time frame.
Mhm.
So you were kind of like early internet season, right? Like
Yeah.
getting the
Like,
word out for them.
early iTunes, like,
Yeah.
I was at Tooth and Nail, I think it was, like, 2006 to 8, um, so doing digital marketing for them. And I always kinda clarify, like, I was more on the Christian side of Tooth and Nail, so they had the Jeremy Camps, Cutlass, KJ52 artists that were more Christian radio, and then you also had the hard rock screamo.
Yeah.
And I was one of 2 guys in the building who didn't have tattoos, so that's what I kinda tell people, like, I was the straight-laced guy, but I loved it. I mean, it was just a super creative environment, um, and worked on some of the first ever lyric videos on YouTube. This was
Wow.
when CD sales were going down really fast, and we were trying to
Yeah.
figure out, can we make money on iTunes? This was before streaming, so it was like, okay, we're going from selling a CD where you sell a CD for $10 to $15, and I don't even know what the label takes and the artist takes, but from selling a $10 to $15 CD to 99 cents a song. And so the music model was really, they were trying to figure it out. And then you had illegal song downloading. But then YouTube, we started realizing, well, wait a second, people are taking these songs and putting their own artwork to it, fan art, whatever, and they're making money on YouTube. And so we're like, we get these songs, 6 months to a year before. Like, there's no reason why we shouldn't be the first ones on YouTube with the song. So I got to make some of the first ever lyric videos, and you
Wow.
know, one those that I look at them now, I'd probably be like, "Oh, that is so bad. I can't believe." But again, this was,
But the tech wasn't
15.
there either, right? Like the
Totally,
tech has
yeah.
come so far now.
Yeah, so it was exciting time to be. I mean, Tooth and Nail had some, really big, Anne Boleyn and Under
Yeah.
Oath, like some really large artists on their roster. And I mean, Jeremy Camp was the biggest one, and so it was just, I mean, I still remember, early days of Facebook. And so we had these MySpace pages for the artists, and we're like, okay, well, now we got to make a Facebook page for Jeremy Camp and Bebo Norman and these different artists.
Yeah.
And we did a promotion. Like, this was back when people still wanted to download a song, right? And
Yep.
so we did a promotion. You could get a new Jeremy Camp song if you simply like his Facebook page, and created a widget, and they could download the song. And in like a couple days, maybe it was 1 week, he gained 100,000 Facebook followers. And it was like, today you'd be like, no way, like,
Yeah.
you can't offer anything on social media and get 100,000 people to come do something, like, that's
Yeah. It was
that,
all
yeah. So,
new.
totally, yeah. So yeah, it was definitely fun times. I got a car out of it. Cool
Very
story to be
cool.
able to say. I mean, there's so many people whose lives were impacted by
Yeah.
Tooth and Nail. I mean, I love how they were creating music that carried faith, but in just a different style. And they reached a whole different generation and whole different demographic. And so, yeah, it was definitely a privilege and fun time to work there.
Very cool. Okay, you raise a question. This is going to go into our conversation about digital in a few minutes. So go with me on it. But it's fascinating how the world has changed
Mm.
in the sense that it used to be, even back then, which is not that long ago. I mean, maybe 20
Yep.
years, maybe even less a little bit,
Yeah.
but that we used to want to own music, right? So have you
Yep.
seen the memes like us Gen Xers are like, I've bought the same albums. It's just the same like 15 albums in 4 different formats, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we used to want to own it and possess it. And then you could play it as much as you wanted. And
Mm.
now, you just, I don't want to have that in my house. I just stream it from
It's
Spotify or
clutter.
wherever. Yeah. It's like, why would I need, I got all these DVDs in the room in there. I'm like, we got to get rid of those, right? I don't need those. Do you have any thoughts about that transition, having worked kind of right in it? Like, I'm sure it was scary for them at the time.
Hmm.
It's definitely kind of decimated the music industry because it had a whole bunch of like consolidation and labels going out of
Yeah.
business and all kinds of stuff that has happened because of it. Like,
Yeah, well,
it's,
it kind of decimated it, but then it's come back because now they
mm,
just figured out a business model for it. Music's
yeah,
been consumed more than ever before because of technology. Now, the discovery of music is easier than ever. I mean, and I haven't worked in the label system for 15 years, so I don't even know the whole breakdown of money, but like they're making good money. You can if you got a big song on YouTube, you're making money. If you got a
they're
song
doing
that
okay.
goes viral on TikTok, you're making money. So, it was just the growing pains of trying to figure out, and a lot of times, current um, industry models are slow to adjust to technology changes. So they're kind of holding on to, no, we want to sell CDs, and that's when the Napsters of the world came in and go, no, that's not what the consumer wants. And, they were doing something illegal, clearly. But yeah, there was just that adjustment period. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think, net gain is now, because I mean, I remember going to the Christian bookstore, and if I wanted to hear, new music,
Oh,
you'd have to go and put on the headphones.
yeah.
But now it's like a friend can send me a text message with a link to Spotify, or they can send something on
Right.
Instagram, and all of a sudden I've just discovered my new favorite song. So I
Yeah.
think it's an incredible time for music, just in that regards, and then everybody's a content creator now, and everyone wants to put music to their social
Yeah.
media posts. So music is, definitely thriving, in my opinion, as far as reaching people. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I'm always curious about that. I kind of have a distant interest in. I mean, I love music, but I've never been in the industry, right? So I'm curious about what somebody
I mean,
as close as you
as
are.
the
Yeah.
whole digital thing went on, then you got the LPs, records, and you've got
Yeah,
the
which is
audiophiles
fascinating.
who still want to buy a physical record, for just the premium sound quality and now nostalgia. I'm sure nostalgia is part of it also.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Supposedly they sound better, but I can't
Yeah.
tell. Whatever. That's all right. I love it. Okay, I guess so. I had a bunch of questions for you about this kind of thing. We covered a lot of it. So, did you learn anything? I mean, you were kind of doing that, but did you learn anything about social media or the internet in those early days that inspired your journey with it? Like when you look back
Mm.
and go, "Oh, we were seeing all the success or different things." Was there something that happened that made you go, "I can actually, work in this, and I can keep going"?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my first job, I was in college and I was working at the local Christian radio station in Seattle, and I had gotten my foot in the door. They had started a streaming Christian rock station, and I knew how to edit video, but I didn't know how to build a website. And they asked, I'd made a couple of videos for them, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to, I was still going to college. Do you want to do part time here, make our website?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll figure it out." And so it kind of jumpstarted my career of being curious and going, "All right, I want to help this ministry reach people in the Seattle area with their radio ministry. I'm going to figure out how to build a website for them." And then this was the early days of Twitter and MySpace, and so I quickly caught on to all the different digital tools. I mean, every day there's a new digital tool, and really you got to figure out, is this one actually going to be around 5-10 years from now? So yeah, I mean, I was kind of the early days of social media, and then figuring out, okay, how do we use this? What's the right way? Early days of podcasting. I mean, I still remember the computer I was on when I first tried podcasting, and what is the RSS feed and all that, what does that look like, and starting to go, this is like radio, but not, this is on demand radio. And so yeah, I mean, my field being in the digital marketing space, like, you can't get comfortable for too long. You have to be um willing to change, and you got to be ready to learn something new. Like, as soon as you say, I'm a quote expert at social media, expert at digital media, you
Right.
are irrelevant. Like I you get humbled real quick. And anytime I hear someone, or even if they say, "Oh, Matt's a social media, digital media expert," it's like I kind of cringe at it because I don't think there's really experts anymore. Like I think there's great
Mm,
ideas, and you got to be constantly learning and keeping sharp on the trends, because it is going, and on at the same time you got to be up on the trends, but then you also got to stick to what's the tried and true. How do you communicate with people, so the things that don't change, the human nature side of stuff. So
yeah. 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 I love that. Okay. Actually, we're going to come right back to that because
yeah.
that's a perfect place to start about the things that don't change and
Mm,
the things that you should be watching for, because things do change. So we're gonna do that here in just a second. I'll ask you that question here in just a second. All right, friends. So Matt, we're talking about kind of his background and all this interesting stuff with the music industry back in the day. If you got questions, maybe you have a question about who was the biggest jerk at Tooth and Nail. I don't know. Don't ask him that. We may not do that, but ask something interesting, right? If you have an interesting question, about digital marketing, please ask that. It doesn't have to be. I mean, wild. Just ask us a question. We'd love to answer that here in a little bit. Love to have you on there. By the way, go to YouTube. You can subscribe at ericnevinslive.com. Would love to have you on board as well. Okay, Matt, let's dive into that. So let's pick up from there, because I think that was an interesting thing. So when it comes to digital marketing, there are certain things that stay the same.
mhm.
And I think even across, I've been in podcasting now over a decade, I think, or almost a decade, maybe. Um, there's certain things that are always the same, even though lots of other stuff changes. So
Mhm.
I can relate to that for sure. What things do you see, whether it's social, digital, across platforms, whatever, are always the same?
Hmm. Well, sadly, people are always mean. There's always going to be mean people, and so you have to grow thick skin or just ignore it. That I mean, I'm kind of sad that that's the first thing that comes to mind, but that kind of is true. I think people do want to be seen, and so it's social media. So if you're going to be in the social media space, how can you be social, and not just pushing content out, but engaging with people? So I think when you do engage, it resonates, and that's how you get fans. And then
Yep.
authenticity, and again, it's a buzzword, and everybody says authenticity. Be authentic. Um, and I think there's a lot of people who are trying to act like they're authentic and not. And so, and I think our BS meters are really good this day and age. We know when someone's doing content, social media, YouTube, podcasting, because they're truly passionate about it, or they have ulterior motives. And so
Mm-hmm.
think, like I'm really a big fan of YouTube right now, YouTube content creation. And anytime I meet someone who's like, "Oh, I want to do a YouTube channel," I tell them, "Great, go start now. Like, just start learning, but make
Yep.
sure it's something you're truly passionate about. Like, are you doing it for the right reasons? Like, are you doing if you're a Christian, are you doing it because you want to spread the word of God, or are you just want to be famous?" Like sadly, I think a lot of people they will see the Mr. Beasts and the
Yeah.
Dude Perfects and they go, "Oh, I want to do that." Well, what is that? Is that just being famous, or is it, like you got to have a bigger why?
Mm,
And I just don't think many people are doing that, and it leads to burnout. You
yeah.
need to do something that you would do whether you're getting paid or not, and then that's usually the ones that bubble up to the top. They've stuck to it because they love it, and
Yep.
they got a bigger purpose, bigger purpose than just being known, and
Yep.
digitally famous.
And even that is not all it's cracked up to be, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah, no, it's not. I don't envy it at all. I mean, even just in the subculture of Christian music, I mean, we've seen even with artists, people are not meant to be on a stage and have people idolizing you. Like I just don't think our souls are meant to take that. We're not supposed to be putting our worship towards people, but it's we live in a celebrity culture, and so I mean, I've wrestled with it, like starting a new YouTube channel. And there's nothing about me that's like, "Ooh, I want to be YouTube famous." Like, would I like to make a living off of it? Yeah. Um, but I also was like, because there's also the trend of the faceless YouTube channels, but I don't want to do that
uh,
either, because I don't think I think those are going to be that's just like that's a trend right now. And that's
yep.
people who, and again, a lot of people are jumping into, "Oh, I could just have AI create the content, and I don't have to be on the face of it." And there's just not depth to it. And so I want to, in order to create a deeper connection and have my content reach people, like I got to
Yep.
show up. They got to see it, that it's another human being. So
Right. Well, I think we talked about AI a little bit earlier before we
Yeah,
hopped
or-
on, and we don't have to go into that deeply, but I think you're going to see human created content become the thing that gets privileged actually in
yes.
places like YouTube or
Hmm.
other social media. Like because I think they know that that's just not, I
Yeah.
mean, it can be fine, uh, but that authenticity that you were referring to earlier, I think you're totally right.
Hmm.
Authenticity is good. Having a purpose. I mean, for me, I wanted to start conversations, that really
Hmm.
mattered and that allow people, that we can't have maybe in other places, or that are kind of difficult, or maybe just not regularly brought up. So my first show was called Halfway There, and that was all about the Christian spiritual journey. We talked about the dark night of the soul. Well, I didn't ever talk about that as a kid, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
nobody wanted to talk about that. It was, I met Jesus, now my life is great.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I hope that helps somebody. I think it's valuable. And I think people want to hear that, not always bad stuff, right? But just they want to hear that kind of authentic
Hmm.
struggle because they don't want to feel alone.
Yeah. And I think authenticity looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
Some person may be doing a YouTube channel podcast like what you're doing. Mine is like I kind of take a like a GoPro. It's called a DJI Osmo, like a small camera, and I walk around. I go to the person and I interview them as we're walking and talking. And then you've got like Mr. Beast, who's doing the super produced, Hollywood style videos, and there's everything in between. And we live in this day and age. Again, there's no gatekeepers controlling what gets out there. And so if you got an idea, you can do it. But just don't be copying someone else because you think that's what's going to make it successful. What's going to make it successful is that you genuinely care about it and you stick to it. And you got to have like what's unique, what makes you unique, and how you're creating your content, how you're doing your interviews. And yeah, I mean, you can take ideas from other people and then iterate on it and make it your own.
Right. Which is great. And so if you can do that, then and you'll find it. So I'm going to say this, and I'm curious about what your thoughts are, because I was going to ask you this anyway. Um, if you're gonna start, like if you haven't started yet, and you're
Mhm.
somebody who you've got an idea, and you're like, oh, you see somebody who's doing something that you're like, wow, that's
Mhm.
that's really exciting. I'd like to do it. Take a little time to think about it, but then just like you said earlier, go ahead and get started. Like, do something. Start the YouTube channel. You just use your phone. Your phone probably is a better camera than
Mhm. A better camera than what we had 5 years ago. I mean,
5 years ago for sure. Let alone
yeah,
anything we had, going back
yeah.
in the '90s. So,
Well, and at the end of the day, like if you've got something really, really powerful to say, it doesn't have to look perfect. It
totally.
doesn't have to be super polished. Like it should sound decent. Like they don't want to hear grainy, bad audio, but everybody starts somewhere. Like there's a guy on YouTube. His YouTube channel is called Dry Creek Wrangler School, and his name's Dwayne Johnson. He's not the Rock Johnson. This is like a
Different guy.
70-year-old man, big old beard, and he just sits on his front porch. Sometimes he's got a cigar, sometimes he doesn't. He shares wisdom from his 70 years of life.
Yep.
He weaves in his faith every once in a while, and he's getting millions of views per video. And it's because it's just he's not trying really hard. I mean, he's literally got the camera on a tripod. He hits record and goes.
Yeah.
But he's got a deep well of wisdom, biblical wisdom, and then just life wisdom. And so, yeah, no, it's exciting time. In fact, just actually today launched something with some buddies. We're calling it God Made because we've just got this passion of like, how can we get more content creators, whether it's social media people, social media content, YouTube content, podcasting content, but doing it, through the lens of Christianity. And so we're doing a podcast last YouTube channel, just talking about like all the different things. Like if you're going to be doing content, like how do you monetize it? Like you need to
Yep.
do that. It's not just otherwise it's just a hobby, but then or how do you weave your faith into it? What if you do content that's not overtly Christian, and
Yep.
yeah, so all those different conversations because we call it the we don't call it the creator economy, like everybody calls it the creator economy,
Yep.
and it's growing exponentially. Like Forbes magazine, Bloomberg, over the last 6 months or so, both came out with articles saying that the creator economy is going to double by 2027.
Wow.
So that means, and I think I gotta don't quote me on this, but I think I even read that the fastest growing small business in America is YouTube content creator, and
Wow.
so yeah, it's an interesting time and it's an exciting time, but my goal and my buddy's goals with God Made is we just want to flood these channels with Christian content creators, doing excellent content and reaching different people. Like the example I always give is with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey talks about one topic, money, but he's got his Ramsey personalities, and each
Yeah.
one of them talks about money and finances from a different angle. And the creator economy, the ability to just take your phone and start a YouTube channel or start a podcast, it's that's legitimate, that's possible. And so I think the more voices we can get, you know flooding these systems with good godly content would be awesome.
Yeah. Two examples come to mind of how powerful this is. First of all, without getting into politics, last year we had an election and podcasts played a significant
Yeah.
part, right?
Yeah.
Trump going on Rogan, and there were and a bunch of others because of Barron, which I thought was interesting. Like that made a difference, I think, to
Yeah.
some people, and that was the first time I think podcasting really had that kind of an impact. And the other one that stood out to me was in January or February at the Super Bowl. Some of the commercials featured creators. Did you
Yes.
like? And I was like, oh, okay, that's like big time, right? That's kind of like, okay, now we've hit the big time.
Yeah.
And even though I wasn't in a Super Bowl ad, I felt very proud of like the creator because I've been part of it. And I'm like, hey, yeah, that's pretty
And
cool.
like the latest stat, so in 2024, more people watched YouTube, not the YouTube TV cable service, but just
Right.
YouTube on their TV more than live TV,
That's crazy.
Disney, Hulu, Netflix, like all of them. Like more people spent more time on that. And so that just shows you like the days of, the big media conglomerations are slowly falling apart. And because now everybody has a voice. And that's also scary. Like you give anybody a microphone and they can say, I mean, that's
True.
what we love about our country is free speech. And so but our belief is that good quality, good ideas rise to the top. And so same within Christendom, like I want to encourage as many Christians to go create content, but there's obviously going to be some who have a horrible theology and they're going to get out there. But I got to believe that, the good theology, the good ideas are going to bubble to the top. And it also puts like on me, like I better be in my Bible and be reading up and be able to discern if that podcast or that YouTube channel is just totally heretical and really bad ideas or not. So we live in you and I we both have probably stories of,
Oh yeah.
not listening to the mainstream evil music. And like back in the 90s and like youth group culture was, very much don't listen to the bad music. I think today we've got to be training, the next generation. No, you need to discern. You need to understand what is in that and understand the impact that it has on you. And, it's not a legalistic thing. It's just, what we put into our minds impacts how we think. And so someone can listen to a mainstream song and be fine, and some people can't. And some people, all they want to listen to is worship music, and more power to them. So that's great.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the rest of the verse, but there's something I think it's in Philippians about everything should be received with faith, right? Like there's a sense, and I think he's talking about like festivals and different things that people were kind of judgy about in his time. But he's like, hey, receive. God gives good gifts. Receive them with goodness or with faith. Like it's fine. And so I had to. That's a whole journey. We could go there, but you're definitely touching on some things that I'm fascinated with. We don't have to get into all of it, but the idea. You're right. I think good ideas do show up. I do worry sometimes, particularly from a Christian perspective, about people teaching the Bible who have no training in the Bible. And not just because you can't do it, but because it's a little bit more complex than simply opening it up and reading it and telling people what to do. That I know that's kind of where a lot of us have been trained, but man, I would love for you to have a little bit more background than that, in my opinion. But that's
and everybody's on a different spectrum and journey, so there might
True.
be someone who is doing that Bible study that's maybe just not fully there, but maybe it gets someone pointing in the right direction, and
that's true.
I just listened to a sermon, did a Bible study with some friends and talking about, because it was in Hebrews and the idea of having spiritual milk, like just kind of baby food, or, graduating to real food, and Yeah, actually yesterday we were recording a podcast for our God made thing, and we're talking about this exact topic. That's why it's fresh on my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's an element of there's certain pieces of content. Brandon, one of the co-hosts, said you eat the meat and you spit out the bones. So you can consume, different, Bible studies or
Sure,
content
sure.
creators, and there's some of it that you need to take and apply to your life, and other parts you go, nope, that's not for me. I'm going to spit out the bones. And so I just think it's important as Christians we have to have a more discerning spirit, and especially when we're flooded by so many ideas every single day, like make sure that you're still opening up the Bible and you're not asking ChatGPT to discern the Bible for you.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You can ask it, but you better be double checking it,
Well,
because
ChatGPT is not the Holy Spirit, and
yeah,
neither is it
exactly.
a good commentary. You should have a good commentary. Okay, I'm a biblical studies major, so that's I could talk about that for a
You
while.
could go all day on that. Yeah.
I could, and it's totally fine. You're right. When I teach Christian podcasters, the other thing that I studied was the spiritual journey, and so like you're right, there is a place for everybody. So let's go back to that. Like there is a place, like wherever you are in your journey, for you to share where you are in your spiritual journey, and there's probably other people at that same place that can help. But just know that you'll continue to grow. Let's hope. So
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I say the same, like I love that. And that's a great analogy for if you're a content creator, like I'll tell people just start right now and you're going to be embarrassed with your first
Yeah.
video, your first podcast episode. And so start now, don't stay there. I mean, I've been doing my own YouTube channel for 4 or 5 months now. And my first couple episodes, like, I'm like, oh man, like I've learned so much because I've just started. And, so we got to take an active role in our career or our content journey. And then obviously in our faith, you don't want to stay stagnant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And that's okay. That's actually the thing. So my coach, Tim Morris, called that iteration, right? Like,
Yeah.
he calls it versioning. I call it iteration. Like it's just
Okay.
doing a new version of the thing. Like so I'm doing these videos, and every time my process just gets that a little bit better, right? Just a little bit. And then in 6 months, it's going to be amazing and people aren't going to believe it. So that's the way that works. And it kind of compounds like interest, right?
It does.
Okay, so let's talk about a few digital strategies, and then I want to talk about your YouTube channel as well. So,
Yeah.
let's see. How about what digital marketing strategies are you seeing work really, really well right now?
Yeah. So a little background. I've used to be the digital jack of all trades, from my tooth and nail days. And then I worked at K-Love Radio, Sony, Provident, the Christian division of Sony, so Christian music. And I've always been like everything from social media, email marketing, website, mobile apps, all that. For the last 4 or 5 years, I've been on my own and working for my clients. And I've kind of really honed in on, a couple things that bring the most value. And the area that I work the most in right now is digital ads. And the reason I'm a big fan of digital ads is if you do anything in the digital marketing space with social media, you've probably hit your head against the wall multiple times, because what worked last month doesn't work this month. And you're always chasing these algorithms and trying to figure out, how come this post got, 10 likes and then this one got 100 likes or 1,000 likes. And we start to chase, these algorithms and these vanity metrics, and you kind of can lose sight of, well, why are we even on social media? What's the point? Like, what are we trying to get out of this? So where I've kind of grown to love the paid ad side of things is I can come up with a very specific strategy to go, okay, I want to reach this kind of person, these people with this message and this takeaway. And so a lot of what I tell a lot of my clients is, how are you growing? Like, social media, it's good, do it. It's a free tool. It's a free place to be able to reach people. Free meaning it's not really free, because you still got to spend time, right? You still got to spend time creating the content, and then paid ads, you got to pony up money and you got to create the content. But what are you doing to try and grow your email list and your texting list? So that's probably the number one thing, is don't rely, like earlier this year, TikTok was shut down for a couple days. Well, imagine if you were a business or just an individual and you had grown, huge audience on TikTok. You were probably freaking out there for a couple days going, wait a second, my entire platform is gone. And so I think just got to remind yourself continually that YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter X, whatever any platform, you don't own that. You're
Yep.
rented land, and So everything you can do to try and get people to, hey, make sure you join the email. If you really love what I'm doing here, join the email, join my texting list. That's just a that's probably the number one suggestion I would have. And then the other thing, just from a, and I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of digital ads, but the one thing that, and this is just a trend in general, is people are super distracted when they're on their phone. And when I'm doing ads, trying to figure out in the first couple seconds, how do you get someone's attention? And this applies over to YouTube. This applies in everything. Like, it's called a hook. What are you going to do the first couple seconds if someone's scrolling, they're scrolling through YouTube right now and they listen to this? What is going to get them to go, I want to listen a few more seconds? And
Right.
so with my ads, I'm just always trying to figure out, what can I say, visually, with the video, the audio, the text, that's going to get the right person to go, this is for me. And so, and that's hard. I mean, that it's an art, and you got to be testing and trying all the time, because again, everybody is super busy, and a lot of times when they're on these social platforms are more just kind of mindless. And so you
Yep.
got to kind of activate, what are their problems that they're trying to solve right now. So
Yeah, and so there's lots of hooks that you can use. People do. Do you have a favorite? Is there a couple favorites that you like for hooks?
no, well, so most of my clients are in the Christian media space, so Christian radio stations and record labels and artists, and then nonprofits. And because on these ad platforms, so if I want to buy an ad on Facebook and Instagram, I can't target Christians. I can target
Right.
like people who like Hobby Lobby or Chick-fil-A, things that I'm like, well, there's probably a lot of Christians there. So really what you got to do is your ad creative has to be really clear. So like, I do some work with this beautiful nonprofit called Wild Ops, and they help with the combat veteran suicide. Every single day, 22 veterans a day lose their life to suicide. And we're trying to reach people to say, hey, you want to support this mission? And we've just made the ads like a static image, pray for our veterans. Like, you try and put something in that's going to, like, because I can't target Christians, but if I say we're going to pray for our veterans and make it very patriotic and like, hey, they served us, they sacrificed so much, that's going to get the right people to stop. If you're
Yeah.
scrolling through and you're seeing cat videos and food vlog photos, but then you see something that resonates with your faith, my hope, and it's working so far, is they're going to stop and they're going to take another second, to be able to learn a little bit more about what we're doing. So yeah, your creative is got, because a lot of times people want to get cute and fancy,
Yeah.
and you don't have time to do that. You've got literally a split second to be able to get someone to just, consider stop scrolling and consume a little bit more of what you're trying to say.
Right. Right. Okay. So you got to be good. You got to be on point, which talks about your
Yeah.
message, right? You have to know what your
Yeah.
message is and who it's for and what problems you're solving,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
that carries over into real life, in conversations, like, you get to the point, like, nobody really likes someone who rambles too much, and it's like,
Yeah. Well,
it
that
depends on the
explains some
setting and the
things in my
context.
life right there. Yeah. Makes some sense. I'll take that into advisement. Let me ask you this: so if you're buying ads, is paying for attention cheating?
Cheating in what way?
Just getting attention versus like earned attention.
No, well, I mean, I know there's some people who think, why would I give them money? And my argument is, well, by paying, when I'm paying for the ads, I'm able to like zero it in and get it to who I want and dial it in. Like, when I'm just posting organically, I have no idea who it's reaching. And my personal opinion, and maybe this is because I'm getting older and I'm tired of creating social media content,
Right.
but I've just seen too many times where you do something on social media and then it takes off, and then you go, oh, I got to do more of that. And like, so like in the Christian radio world, you'll have a DJ, or even for like a Christian artist, you'll do something like a trend, the latest social media trend. Well, did that really bring in people who were going to listen to your music or listen to your radio station, give to your ministry, just because you did the trend? Maybe there's a few, but it's not really aligning with who you are. And so the reason I'm a fan of the paid side of things is, one, it makes you be way more intentional. Like, you are spending hard cash on it,
Yeah.
but you're really focusing on, is this getting people to click on it, come to the website and give to our ministry, or come to the website and sign up for an email, or come to the website and buy a concert ticket? So I think it just helps, you get away from chasing, getting on the hamster wheel of, ooh, we got to get more impressions and more shares and clicks and all those metrics that we all look at, on social media. But at the end of the day, we're looking for something bigger than that. And so
Yeah.
I would rather take 100 great people engaging with my content than a million who just casually click like and
Right.
watch views, right? Like I want to go deeper.
Dude, my new favorite metric, I guess, is retention, right? Is like
Yes.
how long did people actually watch the video? That's what I need
100%.
to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a very different way to look at it. And to be honest with you, as a faith-based person, I don't like that. I don't love being utilitarian about how I create. I don't like the guardrail there. But I can't change it either, right? It just kind of is
Totally.
what it is. And so
Yeah. But you want
part
to reach
of
people, and
yeah,
we've got
exactly.
all this data and analytics in front of us, and we know, when we say something and people tune out or when they tune in, and but again, you got to do it within reason, because you may get a lot of people keep on tuning in, but for the wrong reason, and it's really not, if you started doing Eric's afternoon dance party on your YouTube channel, and all of a sudden people started tuning into it. Well, but then when you do a video, they'll be like, well, what are they doing now? Like, I came here for his dance party thing. And so you got to really stay consistent, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true. I like it. Okay. I'm curious, you're working with ministries.
Yeah.
What challenges do you see that they have and they're running into most with their digital strategies?
Whew, good question. I mean, some of what I was just talking about is trying to figure out, like, every few months it changes what works, and trying to figure out how much time do we spend on this organic social media. I do think another problem is, in this creator economy, trying to attract talent. So if you are a entertainment, creating content as a ministry, um, you're competing against everybody. Here we are, we're creating content. Like, we are possibly taking people away from listening to a Christian song streaming or a Christian radio station in the car. Um, and so trying to attract talent and get them into the building is going to get harder and harder when people are going, wait, I've got a microphone and I got a phone and I can go do this. And so I do think that's probably a challenge also, of just trying to figure out what does a more corporate organization looks like in the future, when my kids I don't know if they want to go into an office building. I think the idea of content creators want to be able to create, and they don't want to be told no, whether good or bad. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. It, yeah. So you're finding that they're having trouble, like, say that for me again. Like, what they're having
well,
trouble.
I'll give an example, and this isn't really in the Christian media space. This is
Okay.
like more. So this will be like, I'm looking at Dave Ramsey, very very large media organization, or like Daily Wire in the conservative space. They both have had content creators under their umbrella who come in and make content and reach millions of people, grow this huge YouTube channel, huge podcast channel, and then at a
Oh,
certain
I
point
see.
they go, "All right, I'm going to go do it on my own with a couple
Yep.
friends.
Yep.
Peace out. Like, I don't want to be in the office 5 days a week and do that when I can do it, half the time. I've got some friends who are making a full-time living on YouTube, and they're like, Matt, and it's not that they're lazy. They're just going, we're making more money doing less work, and
Yeah.
because the work that they're doing is very focused. They've found something that works on YouTube, and they're just doubling down on it, and they spend all their time on that. And when you work in a corporate environment,
Gotcha.
there's a lot of meetings that you're in that don't really pertain to the content, and so as a content creator, you kind of go, well, wait, if I could just go do the content that I want to do and not be part of all
Yep.
these other,
So keeping
meetings.
keeping
Keeping talent is going to
talent.
be, I think, really hard. Yeah.
That opens a whole can of worms that we probably don't have time to get into. But I think corporations in America, like, they're just gonna have to figure it out, right? Because, like, my kids are not gonna be able to. They're not gonna want to even do that. They might, but it's. I think Gen Z is gonna be like that.
Hmm.
Did you see the story? Okay, short tangent, Matt. Did you see the story about was it Oracle people who were like, they offered them, they said, hey, you got to come back. I can't remember if it was
Yeah.
Oracle or IBM or one of those big companies. You got to come back to work in the office.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not eligible for a promotion at all. And like more than 50%, more than half of their people were like,
Wow.
fine, no big deal. I'd rather work at home.
Hmm.
Because then compete for your 2% raise, right? Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fine, give 2% to somebody else. I'll just work at home, and
Yeah.
I'll
I mean,
save
there's
2% on my gas.
totally, and people value the personal freedom a little bit more. And I mean, I understand companies that want to have a work culture, and have people in the office, but I've also seen it done without. And so, every company, that's their prerogative, they can choose, but I do think it will be harder and harder if you're going to be 5 days a week, butt and seat, in the office. And yeah, I mean, we just live in an interesting time. I mean, because the downside is, and we talked about it earlier, but like, no gatekeepers. Okay, great, everybody can create content, but
Yeah.
now everybody can create content, and then you got more bad content out there. Like, there's
Right.
something to be said about having larger, especially in the Christian space, ministries who kind of gatekeep. But you know, it
Yep.
it's you're not putting it back in the box. You're not gonna. It's not going
No.
backwards. And so now we just got to figure out, how do we use discernment and what the content that we're consuming.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. I do want to talk about your show. So
Yeah,
your YouTube channel is you kind of chosen to share like positive stories. I watched a few of them that were pretty cool. When
yeah,
the guys with the cigars, right? They
yeah.
were, which
Holy,
is
holy
great.
smokes! Yeah.
Holy smokes! And then there was another one that I watched that was more recent. So you're kind of trying to help your voice or help your audience be a little more salty, which I was really glad that you didn't spell that with a P. Thank you for
I actually had a friend who said I should do
that.
that, like,
Yeah, yeah.
jokingly.
Yeah, that was. Do you remember Salty from back in the?
Oh
Did
yeah,
you ever
Salty
have that?
the songbook.
Salty the
Yep,
songbook. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so you're helping your. So it's called Salty Christians.
yep.
Yeah, I love the play on words. So, what are you trying to do there, and
Mm.
how is that? How's that going for you? And what are you doing to grow your channel?
Yeah. So the origin story of where it came about, kind of two things. One, over 20 years ago, when I was first starting in Christian radio and record labels, I read a book by Bob Briner. It was called The Roaring Lambs, or Roaring
Yeah.
Lambs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Big
whole
book.
concept behind it was, as Christians in media, like, let's do excellent art. And instead of complaining about, the bad, evil movie that's in the box office and the bad music on the radio, go make better art. Historically, Christians used to make the most excellent art. Like, we're created in the image of God. He's a creator. We could be creators. We should be leading the trend. So that's kind of been a book that's just been woven throughout my whole career. And then um, I'm part of this men's prayer group, and there's some incredible men in there who share stories every single week of just how God's using them. And one man, just a sweet old man, he's 80, works at a pharmacy, and would share stories of just he's giving people their medications, checking them out at the cashier station. And every once in a while, he just, when he feels prompted by the Holy Spirit, he says, "Hey, can I pray for you?" And just incredible stories of just the simple act of praying for someone while they're getting, because when someone's picking up medicine, they're sick, there's something going on. And so I kind of married those two ideas, like, because at first I thought I'm just going to interview people in Christian media because that's a passion of mine, and how are we being salt and light um, with media. But I kind of broadened it, and I want to just showcase everyday humans who are being salt and light, and what does that look like? So I've had a real estate agent, so how is he weaving his faith into selling homes? I had this guy Dean who works at the pharmacy. I've had a graffiti artist. She was the first female graffiti artist on the West Coast, and then became a Christian, and now she's doing her artwork for Jesus. And so just those fun, interesting stories. Going back to that authenticity thing, I
Yeah.
started my first couple episodes sitting down, podcast studio, lights and cameras, and it just never felt right. I was always worrying about, are the cameras working? And what kind of the turning point for me was, someone said, "Hey, you need to interview a street preacher." Like, they're down on the streets of Broadway, Nashville, Party City, USA.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can't obviously bring my lights and multiple cameras for that. I can only bring my one little vlogging camera and two wireless mics. And it was kind of the aha moment for me. It was like, man, like, I was more comfortable. It just felt more organic, and the conversation just flowed. And ever since then, I've been, trying to find interesting places where I can, because where you go and where I go and do the interview also tells the story. So
Oh,
the
totally.
episode that really took off for me, I interviewed this guy named Tom Bancroft. He used to work for Disney back in the 90s. And then he left, came to work for the VeggieTales, left because of his faith and just some things that were happening there at Disney. And then he's one of the animators for the new film it's out now called Light of the World. And long story short, he shared it to his Instagram. He has like 250,000 Instagram followers. And this was like about a month ago. And I was like, whew, this is awesome. Because I maybe had 100 subscribers or less. Most of my videos got 100 views, and it was like, here we go. I'm gonna get a nice little boost. And sure, but it's Instagram stories, so that's like 24 hours. And so I was thinking, well, I'll get a few more subscribers. I think I got like 1,000 views. Well,
Yeah.
what ended up happening is it just kind of kicked it into gear, and YouTube was like, I'm going to show this video to more people. And so as it stands today, I think I'm over 150,000 views and 5,000 subscribers. And it's been incredible. And just to see comments of people going, I love this story. Because ultimately the mission of why I'm doing it is that I know when I hear a story of someone who's being salt and light, being a salty Christian, it inspires me to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to only interview the quote celebrities. Like I want to have people in different walks of life, because we don't just need, I always say this, we don't just need Tim Tebow's of the world who represent our faith. We need to go do that. And
Right.
we all have a sphere of influence, and don't just sit on your hands waiting until I've got a big enough podcast or big enough YouTube channel or big enough promotion in whatever job you're at. Like you can do it now, and we should be doing it now. And if everyone did it, we'd have a different world if everyone was just being salt and light. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been an incredible adventure, and like, you know, learning. That's why I tell everybody, like, start, whatever, if you've got this idea, especially if you feel you got it from God, like start now and just start learning. Because like I said, my first episode to the ones that I'm doing now are just completely different, and I've just
Yep.
gotten more comfortable with what my mission is and discerning on who should I have as a guest or not. And so yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. So I'm hearing an emphasis on let's almost ordinary people
Hmm.
bringing the gospel. I would call that a kingdom perspective. I'm
Hmm.
convinced that Jesus didn't. People sometimes say he ushered in the kingdom, but I don't think he did. I think necessarily. Okay, I'll think about this. If friends in comments, if I'm wrong, you tell me. But I think what he did. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. He said what the kingdom of God is at hand. It is near.
Hmm.
He revealed the kingdom of God. It was always there, right?
Yeah.
God's
Hmm.
reign, God's rule was always there. I don't believe in like an epoch. It's like no, it was always there. Jesus just came and showed it. He said, "Hey, look, here it is." And that's
Hmm.
kind of what he calls us to, I think. And so what I hear you doing is going, "Hey, I'm going to go to this whatever Holy Smokes or the you know
Disney animator.
Disney animator guy or the I'm looking at the graffiti one. I couldn't get the word graffiti.
Yeah.
But that guy or that person, like they are bringing the kingdom of God out.
Hmm.
They're revealing it. They're showing it
Yeah.
in this creative way. I think this gets to everything that we've talked about. Certainly for creators, Christian creators, like whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're doing a YouTube show,
Mm.
whatever it is. One of my favorite examples, one of my friends and podcasters is Paula Chamberlain, and she has a show called A Quilter's Life, and she talks
Mm.
about quilts, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Exactly.
she's a wonderfully faithful woman, and she interviews. Not every episode it's about quilting, but when she has a Christian on the show, she'll talk about the gospel, she'll talk about God in their life,
Mhm.
whatever, and people listen to it, even because
Mhm.
is there for the quilts, right? She's just bringing the gospel within the
Yeah.
quilting.
Doing it naturally in your sphere of influence. Like we don't have to force
Yeah.
it. And I believe every single day God gives us opportunities to do it, whether it's in the checkout line at the grocery store or interaction with a friend or family member. But yeah, it's it kind of goes back to my curiosity, and I love to just meet new people and what they're doing. Um, and like I want to do the everyday people, but I also want to do the quote celebrities, because I think there's
Yeah.
also stuff we can learn from them. Because I think, like even the Tim Tebow example, like obviously he wore his faith on his sleeve, but there's an element of like, what is he doing behind the scenes too? Like he does stuff and I know it's an interesting, not everybody, you don't want to brag about yourself. So I've kind of come up with ways of like, hey, share how you've been open to God God using you. Like this is not bragging on yourself. This is bragging on, hey, I just listened to the Lord and tried to show love to somebody in this
Yep.
unique way. And so yeah, there's so many stories. I know that they encourage me, and it's just been fun. Yes, and I dream someday I would love to interview someone at NASA, and
Oh yeah.
like
Yep.
just all these different walks of life, and hopefully that it just inspire every single one. You can walk away with, hey, how can I go be salt and light?
Yeah. And I'm pretty convinced that even especially with podcasting, there's almost no place you can't reach, right? Like in
Totally. Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I may not get the president, but maybe I'll get a former president one of these days, right? Like
Yeah.
there's lots
Yeah.
of ways that can work. So yeah,
Yeah. No,
it's good.
yeah, there's the Lord can weave that together, and you never know who knows who, and that happens. So,
Yeah,
but
100%.
we got to be faithful. That's the thing, is we got to be faithful today.
Yep.
Like, as much as I've got a list of dream guests, and I do that. But I just got to be faithful to the episode that I recorded today, and edit it, and and not be only just pining for, ooh, I can't wait to get a president or this celebrity or that celebrity. It
Yeah.
goes back to the vanity metrics. Like, if I could reach millions of people, like, that's great, but if what about the depth? How deep am I taking them? Are they walking away from an episode deeper, closer to Jesus, and actually go take action? That's what I want them to do. Or were they just entertained? And so
Yeah.
trying to figure out that balance, because I mean, it's been super fun to have an episode get 150,000 views, and
That's
every
cool.
day my son's like, "How many views now, Dad?" And like, it's fun, but that's not why I'm doing it, and I got to
Yeah.
remind myself that, because that blend of, like, want to do excellent, and metrics does reflect excellence, but not the whole picture.
Right. Yeah. I love that. It's fun when the numbers are good, but you got to remember,
Mhm.
whether they're good or they're bad, they aren't the full reflection of who you are.
Yeah, yeah.
And as long as you can do that, that's great. All right. Well, it's The Salty Christians, guys. You can find that on YouTube. Matt, I really enjoyed this conversation with you, getting to know you a little bit. It's mattmundt.com. There's a D in your name. So MUNDT,
Yep.
mattmundt.com. So it's up on the screen, guys. You can see it. Definitely check it out. Friends, if you have a nonprofit and you want to work with Matt, he's got a little link on his website. You can go find it. You know how to do that. It's 2025. We can all do that. Go find Matt, and I'm sure he'll be able to help you out or direct you
I'll point you in the right
somewhere
direction. Yep.
where you can. 100%. Matt, I love it. Is there anything you want to leave us with?
No, I thank you for what you're doing. I mean, this is such a passion of mine, of more content creators just getting good stories out there. Like, there's plenty of negative stuff we can find, um, and you're doing something where you're just putting something out there, and people will hopefully have a takeaway, and they will apply it to their life after watching this and all the other episodes you do. So thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Friends, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching later on. Thank you. And go ahead. If you're watching later, leave us a comment, leave us a question. We'll come back and take a look at it. You can follow me at YouTube at the Eric Nevins Live, right there on YouTube. And we'll be back, and I'll be keeping you updated on, we'll be on more formats here soon as well. So we'll keep you updated on that. Thanks for being here.